and welcome back to On the Workbench. Today we're taking a look at the Powerbuilt Zeon sockets. These are sockets intended to remove damaged fasteners, and they declare that it works up to 85% rounded. So on the left side here is a metric set that goes 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 19. And then on the right is an SAE set that goes 1/4, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, 1/2, 9/16, 5/8, and 3/4. And these are differentiated by the color of their trays. You'll note first off that the color of these trays, for which is metric and standard, are backwards from the red and black convention that Snap-on uses, where black is the Snap-on color for metric and red is the color for standard. So if you get over that, I don't think it's that big of a deal because it's plainly numbered here and these are very visible. And so the other observation here I see before I even take these out is that these do skip, and that's why I got both sets, because frequently in between some of these skips, one of the SAE ones will fit or be somewhere in between just to provide some more options. One of the key ones here is a 10mm for what we're going to be looking at today. And so let's take these out of the package, or let's look on the back side here first. First of all, these are, if you look here at the very bottom here, made in Taiwan by Alltrade Tools. So it's interesting, Alltrade is a company here that's made several other products under license to Snap-on in the past. The pen light that I put a blowtorch to earlier, I'll see if I can put a card to that up here in the corner. That was made by Alltrade, as well as a Snap-on hobby knife, which I thought was a piece of crap. That was also made by Alltrade. So they've got some history with Snap-on and being able to carry the Snap-on name on some things. These obviously don't have the Snap-on name. And so each of these, I want to say I paid just under 15 bucks for each of these, and I walked out of AutoZone with both of these packs here for less than $30, which is significantly cheaper than what I think these are supposed to sort of replace, and that is the Snap-on FDX damaged socket removers. And so I'm hoping that these might be a low-cost variant that you could buy instead of the FDX. So let's take a look at this and find out. We'll focus exclusively today on the metric side. So this comes in this little case here that's made of plastic. There's no magnets in it. There is a security tab underneath there. This is a pretty cheap plastic, and I'm not sure how long that would last, honestly, other than it makes for a good display. And as you can see, these just fell out. So I'm going to have to put these back in. Alright, so now they're all back in the tray. So let me just grab the 19 for comparison here. These are all 3/8 drive. This is a nice knurling around the outside for easy grip. And these are engraved. That's a Powerbuilt Zeon sockets. And the number, these are made of chrome vanadium steel. As you can see the CRV on the socket. Made in Taiwan. And if we look at the geometry of this, I'm just going to look at the 19 one because it's larger. That you can see there's an extra little tooth in there to hopefully give it a little bit of extra bite. It makes me think of the Flank Drive Plus wrenches from Snap-on, and there's a few other variants. I think Astro Pneumatics got one. There's a few others that have wrenches that have some bite. So these sockets here are supposed to have a little bit of extra bite with that groove in there and the geometry. And so these sockets here are actually covered by a patent as well. There's a number here on the bottom of the package. I'll be making another video about comparing the patents from Alltrade and these Powerbuilt to the patents on the Snap-on FDX. So stay subscribed to this channel. Look forward to that video here coming in the next few days. And so now let's put these to the test. Specifically, I want to look at this 10mm socket, and we're going to stage that side by side. I've got a 10mm 12-point made in USA Masterforce socket here. This one is, I believe it's actually made by the Apex Tool Group. Then I've got a Craftsman made in USA 10mm 6-point, also I believe made by the Apex Tool Group. And then I've got a brand new Snap-on semi-deep 6-point socket as well for comparison. And so what I've got now are some damaged fasteners, and I'll put a little video clip here of me damaging these fasteners with my die grinder. And then after that, we'll come back and take a look at how these sockets perform. Okay, so now just to orientate you here we've got a brand new bolt, unused, and should have perfect geometry. We've got another bolt here that I've modified a little bit here and rounded off the edges, so this should slip on a 12 point. Then I've got another one here that's all boogered up and doesn't do anything. And so, just as full disclosure, I just did the Snap-On FDX video a moment before, and so this is the bolt that the Snap-On 10mm FDX could not bust loose and slipped on. So let's see how this compares. So if you haven't seen it, we'll just run through these first. Here is a 10mm 6-point Craftsman. On the new bolt, a little bit of wiggle. On the rounded fastener, moves more but still bites well, and on this one here it just spins. On the 12-point Master Force one here, this bites obviously into the untouched fastener like it's supposed to. Moves about the same, maybe slightly more than the 6-point. Now on this one here, got the 6-point bit on, this 12-point one here just spins. And then on this really damaged one over here, it just spins as well. No surprise. 6-point Snap-On semi-deep, the untouched perfect fastener, bites just like it's supposed to. The partially rounded one here that spins on a 12-point, it grabs as well. And this one here, it spins as if nothing is there. So now for the test here, here's the Zeon Socket here. Here's how this bites onto that. Okay, that's got a good bite. Onto the one that it's clearly going to grab. I can already tell I like that knurling around there for just being able to do this test here. That's a nice feel. Now, how is this going to respond over here? It looks like this is spinning more than what the Snap-On one was spinning. And I can tell before I even put a ratchet on that, that's not going to break that loose. But let's take a look at some other options that we might have available. So my Snap-On video, when it didn't work on the 10, I went to the 9, but there is no 9mm here. The next one down is an 8. So I'm going to try a 5/16 Zeon socket here. And that looks like we might have some promise here with that. But this is actually a 1/4. And I should also point out that this 10mm is also a 1/4 inch drive rather than all being 3/8. So there is that little bit of a hiccup in terms of a change in the drive size. So we're going to have to use a 1/4 inch ratchet or a 1/4 inch adapter to make these Zeon sockets work. All right, so now I'm going to try the ratchet with the 5/16 socket and see if that can break this loose, where the Snap-On 9mm did not work. Okay, we're getting no dice with that. That's still spinning. We're not getting anywhere with that. Let's try the 8mm Zeon. See if that gets us anywhere. So we'll try the 8mm Zeon. And we're getting nowhere. I feel like if I tap this on with a hammer, it might get us there. But since that's an 8, to be fair, let me grab the 8mm Snap-on. So let's give this a shot with the 8mm Snap-on. And that is getting nowhere with the 8mm FDX. So we'll set that aside. Just to show that the 10mm works on this one here. This is the one that at the 12 point, remind you of that. Here's the 12 point here. That spins, so let's use the Zeon socket to remove that. And it's interesting, I can remove this here, but the socket appears like it's stuck on it. So I can get it off, but now if I want the socket off, there we go. So in this partially rounded one, let's look at how this fits into the socket here and where it's biting. Hopefully you can see that with enough light here, that this is able to still bite into the socket there on the Zeon. For comparison, let's see that in the 12 point here. And this just skips all over. And that's no good. Let's look at that in the 6 point socket here. You can see where that's biting there. Trying to be able to grab. Like that. And on the Snap-on regular, sorry, it's semi-deep, but a regular design. You can see where that's grabbing there. You can see both 6 points are grabbing still close to the corner on this partially rounded fastener. And then for comparison, here's the Snap-on FDX. And let's look at where that's grabbing. That's definitely grabbing farther away from the corner, I think a little bit. But still, now if we're just looking at this, putting that on by hand, that's its bite compared to the 10mm Zeon. So this 10mm Zeon, if I push it down, that gets us there versus the 10mm Snap-on. So the Snap-on one is definitely still a tighter fit. This is just a little snug. So the question is the Zeon a poor man's version of the FDX? We'll go with maybe. The FDX is still a tighter fit on this, but it still worked on the partially rounded one, but my 6 point did it just the same. So maybe this would be an advantage, but the other challenge with this is you're changing drive sizes going from 3/8 and 1/4, and I'm not a big fan of sets that change drive sizes in between without me intentionally wanting to change the drive size. So for a 10mm on this one, I'm forced to be at 1/4 when I might rather be at 3/8. I can see where that's a problem. You know, for the money, not bad. I'll probably just move these inside, and I don't know what I'll do with these, or maybe I'll give them as a gift for the holidays here to someone else. But so if you've had any experience with these Zeon sockets, put in the comments below. I think other people might like to hear about it. So one more thing right quick here on these Zeon sockets. If you didn't know any better, looking at these side by side, these both have a knurled ring around them with no immediate markings that lets you know that they're metric. A lot of other sockets have some sort of a like a vertical hatch that that's on the metric. That's not on the standard. It lets you know immediately you have a metric socket, whereas this one, it doesn't have it. And the numbers here, the Zeon is in pretty good size letters when you flip it up like this, but then the size number is off to the side, and that definitely could have been made much bigger to make it more visible. And they could have removed the CRV, chrome vanadium marking, and put that somewhere else to make that 19 more prominent, or here the 3/4. So I hope you found this video useful on the Powerbuilt Zeon sockets, and have a great day. Bye.